look like. I'm going to share three stories. Thank you. Cool. Uh, okay, I'm going to share three stories from my side. And from that, I just want to listen to you the stories and then I'll ask you a question at the end. I'm not asking question from the story, but I'm going to ask question for you to reflect based on the story. Um, okay, if you cannot hear me or anything, just let me know. Type in the chat. If I'm speaking too fast, let me know. Type in the chat. Yeah, awesome. So the first story that I want to share is that about my school life. So basically, when I was going to the school, when I was studying in this school, most part of my school life I spent in all boys school. This is like very common thing in Sri Lanka, like where I'm coming from. Boys schools, girls schools, like mixed schools, and like this. Like I spent most of my life in there. I think like we had, of course, like I think you also observe, we also had my friends who were like natural leaders, people who like to follow them and they like to take in charge, taking the action. And there are other people who don't like to follow other people. Also, like they became isolated from the groups. As well as like we did have this all expectations toward people regarding that you have to be good in sports, you have to be athletic, you cannot be weak, you cannot express your emotions, how you feel, you cannot cry and stuff like that. So this is like very common things. And if you do that, like that is something that lead you to get bullied, lead you to get like you get names and things like this. So yeah, I think like reflecting back, it's just I think individually for me, I feel it hard to fit in with the majority of the people. And for me, it was easy for me to like be in my own corner and find some people like who I can relate with, who I can spend some time with, and who we have like same belief. But at the end of the day, like it's actually leading you to like be isolated from like majority of the people, right? So reflecting back, I think for me, like in that kind of period, like people who had the influence over the community, or like people who were leading the group, I wish they were more inclusive. I wish they were like more empathetic toward each other, so that they will be able to, everyone can be come together into one community. Fast forwarding into a couple of years down the line, Sri Lanka was one of the countries that was going through civil war. This is one of the incidents that which happened to very close to where I was studying, and I think this back then we had always like conflict going on. This was the peak of the war, and we ended in like 2009. But like this was peak time that there was a lot of bombing, like people are dying inside and outside of the battlefield. And I believe like back then, for even for me, like this decision was that, or you need to make the decision whether you want to go to the school or not in that week, because you really don't know what's going to happen. And so these were like very uncertain time period. So for me, like reflecting back, leadership was that ability to maintain peace and harmony. Like we wish we had a peaceful society, we wish we had a community leaders who are taking charge and making sure that everyone feeling safe. Fast forwarding back again to 2020, where we all observe like how world was facing the pandemic and how we are going through like the COVID situation, and how much that we were unprepared to tackle this. We saw people are making decisions that put everyone in harm, or people making the wrong decision that affect to all the people around. And on the positive side, we also saw people taking charge in the communities, becoming natural leaders, and making sure that people around them are safe. So I think like in this kind of time period, obviously for me, leadership is making the right and critical decision at the right time. You're making the right decision so that you can make a better society or create an better community. So in different period of time, based on different experiences, different beliefs, different contexts that I had, um, I had different interpretations of leadership. I had different idea of leadership. What does leadership means to me, and what does actually creates, what kind of influence that it has over me. So I want to come to the point of like, and I want to ask the question from your side, and based on your experience, your belief, your context that you're facing right now, what does leadership means to you. It can be anything. It can be simple as like leadership is me for me is taking care of people around me. It can be as complex as leadership is means being able to create an inclusive society where people don't feel discriminated or anything like that. It can be any interpretation based on the values or based on the beliefs that you have. So I wanted to reflect on this a little bit, and I want to share this with the people in the group. So this is where we starting our discussion. Um, Divanka, if you can help me with the breakout rooms, I'm going to send you guys into breakout rooms around 4 people each. I'm going to give you some time to reflect and share. You can share with each other. The question is based on your experience and belief. What does leadership means to you? Divanka, can you open the breakout rooms?
Yeah, sure.
Amazing. Nice. But yeah, okay, I'm really sorry if we interrupt you in the middle of the sharing. But yeah, I can open space for like another 1 or 2 minutes. If anyone would like to share, if you got interrupted, if you want to share with everyone, yeah, this is your space.
Can I go?
Yep.
Okay. So I hope you can hear me. There's some background noises, but yeah. So I think that all of us in my room, I had Ishro and Roth with me, and I think there were certain things that all of us really connected to. You know, like first thing that we connected to was the fact that before joining ISEC, we did not really have a very good perspective or understanding of leadership itself, and we thought of it as something very political or something that we don't have to, you know, we don't necessarily need to concern ourselves with. But then throughout the way, we you know, how we experience and how we realize that everything can be tracked to leadership, like within the organization itself also. And then we also talked about, like, let's say certain myths that we broke for ourselves. Like for me personally, I you know, how we talk in ISEC that leadership can be developed in anyone and everyone. So I think that's something that I think I really felt that, like, before joining ISEC, I if someone would have told me that, I probably would have not believed in it. But then when in my ISEC journey, how I experienced that it's someone who is introverted and shy can also become a leader. So I think these are certain things that all of us really connected through our leadership experience in ISEC. So yeah, thank you.
Nice. Thank you, Jocelyn, for sharing. I think, Jury, you can go.
Okay, actually, regarding our what we shared, it was completely about a lot of things. Um, like we agreed on communication and also like empowering people. It's a type of leadership style that's completely working, and also like it can support a lot of things in the world and can help the whole world like to get out of all situations that the world are in right now. For example, like the pandemic and also like the war that's happening everywhere, and also like to look up into the future of the world to get it like better one. Yes.
Amazing. Thank you so much, Shuri, for sharing. I think, yes, it's a very good approach to the session that we're going to talk about, because this is we are going to all start with what does leadership means to you, and I'll tell you like how the session is going to connect with this. So with this, I want to welcome to the Essence session, and I'm Isuru. If you don't know me, I am current regional director for Second Asia Pacific. And I was last year I was in the regional office as well, and I'm originally coming from Sri Lanka. I was MCP in ISEC in Sri Lanka. I was MCVP in ISEC Vietnam as well. Yeah, so very nice to meet you all, and congratulations for being here. So with the essence, And with all this discussion that we are having right now, we are with all connect. So of course, like we are going to connect it to the Isaac way. We are going to connect it to like where we all stands. And as Jocelyn also mentioned, like we talk about how leadership is a fundamental solution, and it's more about exploring like how it eventually connects with different roles or different activities that are happening around us, or how we can see that our contribution toward it and what is the impact that we want to create. So we basically want to focus more on the how part. We want to talk, or we talk about like the placing confidence in youth, how we can make sure that we are impacting the youth around us, how we can make sure that the as MCVPs, like in your current role, what is your responsibility is going to look like in terms of impacting the people around you. So MCPs went through the same session. They had this, we had the same discussion. So if you want to go back and have to bring this discussion in your entity, like I think your MCPs will be onboarded, and you will be also able to have this discussion in depth in your entity, even in your MC planning, that upcoming touch point. Nice. So the main idea that we are talking here is like the leading the impact that you believe in. Like right now, what we discussed is that what is leadership means to you. This is your belief. This is your context. This is where you're coming from. It may be shaped by your environment. It may be shaped by the experience that you went through. But at the end of the day, it creates some certain idea. Oh, this is the leadership means to me. This idea is going to turn into action. This idea is going to be the one that you're communicating to different people throughout your experience. And with this experience, with this communication, you're going to create the ripple throughout your network, the everyone that you're engaging with. So as MCVP, you engage with a lot of stakeholders. You'll be talking to MCP, you'll be talking to LCVPs, and the intentions that you have or the ideas that you're going to share with them, they are going to influence by it. They are going to take that back, and they're going to share with their stakeholders, like their partners, the alumni, their TLs, supervisory groups, BOA, or like anyone. And these people are going to go back and talk about to the communities, NGOs, or the youth, or like other stakeholders that they're engaging with. So as MCVP, or like as MCPs, or like in the MC team, you are in this like middle position of creating this ripple throughout all the community. Like this is something that I always believe in, because this is something that I always observe in ISAC. Whatever the MC team, or whatever the behaviors, or whatever the culture that you are practicing, you will see it in your entity. Like if you have observed this as a MC or LCVP back then, when you're in the previous position, if your MC team is always keeping a higher standard, if they always want to like actually talk to more partners, if they always want to create a good team culture, that will ripple through the entity, and that will, you will also be influenced from that. It's also for the bad things as well. If your MC team is like always late, that you cannot expect your entity to be on time, that's not going to happen. If your MC team is like not precise with their data and information, your entity is going to be like that as well. So whatever the behaviors, whatever the values that you are reflecting as an individual or as the MC team, is gonna be represented by your entity in the long run, or in a couple of months down the line. You will absolutely see this happening. So for me, what did I believe in? Like as MCVP, I was MCVP 16, 17 ISAC in Sri Lanka, MCVP 17, 18 ISAC in Vietnam. I think one thing that I was majorly believing is like how, like I don't think like now only like I'm realizing this, but I don't think like at that point I realized, so this is what happening. Like one thing that I really want to do is like always want to enjoy participation, always want to be the person like who want to have more fun, who want to connect with people, who want to like share my story, and sharing the experience with the different people. I didn't realize like what is the impact that I was creating in through my individual actions back then. But reflecting back or talking to people like a couple of years later, then people sharing, oh, this actually helped me to uh, come out of my situation, or this actually inspired me to do something better, or this actually inspired me to connect with people more. Like these kind of things you will hear later. But things like at that point, you were creating an impact, you were creating an influence over the people around you that you didn't realize. But obviously, this is something that you're also gonna go through. Maybe you wouldn't realize it, but eventually like you will be creating that influence over the people around you. I think one of the incident that I want to talk about is like this is when I was MCP, like one of the major thing that we were doing is that we want to approach the northern part of the country. We want to go there and like create a presence in the in Isaac, India. We are talking about civil war. Like this is northern part of the country was like one of the major area that was affected from civil war. And these kind of like small actions, this I think that this conversation started like from a very small point. Like we were having random conversation with two people, and then that became an inspiration to create an event. This became inspiration to go and like do that impact many other people in the in that area. So this is actually the strength that you're holding, and by being in this position, like if you have this random conversation, if you're having random conversation with another member in your entity or your MC, that might actually create something big. That is the amount of power that you're holding by coming into this position. So my question to you is like, what is the impact that you want to create? Like this is something that we are going to explore, we are going to talk about, and how what kind of impact that you want to create in by the end of your MC term. So we talk about what the vision means to you, and now we are going to come to the point of like talking about how can you take this message forward. So whatever that means, like whatever that you believe in, like you should be able to create that, take it forward, and make sure that people are getting influenced by it, people are getting inspired by it. So for me, impactful leadership has three pillars. It's simply put, like it has intention, communication, and action. So these are the major three things that I believe like it should have an impactful leadership. If you are going, if you be, by becoming MCVP, you are leading your own community, your LCVPs, your TLs, or like your partners or your EPs, like everyone who are interacting with, like all these stakeholders, like if you want to create an impact on them, like you should be focusing on these three things. What is my intention, how I'm communicating my intention, and third thing is like what are the actions that I'm taking. So the first one, like we talk about intention, we talk, the major thing about intention is like sometimes it's very hard for us to understand whether my intention is actually good or bad. Good and bad are very subjective perspectives. Like you cannot say this is good, this is bad, because you cannot, you can never agree with that, because these things like it's always based on the perspective of the different people, different experiences. But at the end of the day, how you can make sure that your intentions are good, or your intentions are perceived as good, and it's going to create a positive impact in the community around you. So this will be an lifelong question that you will have to answer like throughout your life. But for the sake of like this MCTM, or for the sake of this experience, like this will be something that I encourage you to reflect on. I encourage you to have an idea, have a personal vision, validate through others, like constantly reflect, constantly get feedback. Like having a personal vision is like absolutely important for you to understand what kind of impact that you want to create, what is the intention that you have, and talk about with this personal visions to other people. Like it help you to get more feedback, validate it, and make sure that it is something solid that you can actually take forward. Second one is going forward, like second option is like communication. Like it doesn't matter what you think, it doesn't matter like how much good thoughts that you have, if you are not being able to communicate this with other people, and if you're not being able to create the same idea in the other people's mind. So there's like very thin line, there's very small amount, like the things that you think, things that you say, and the people, what people understand, it's a very small amount. Trust me, like what sometimes even you believe like, oh, I communicate this very well, and I think that the person agrees, but sometimes it doesn't, like it does a actually communication gap. This comes from different perspectives. I think the communication is something, another topic that we should be talking about. But at the end of the day, this is something also you need to be working on if you want to create an impactful leadership, if you want to take your message forward to the community. Last one is actions. How good are you in turning your words into action? And the second question is what kind of actions you're focused on. So if you know one thing that like all these intentions, all this communication, it doesn't matter like if you're not turning into action, if you're not being implemented, and people are not being seeing the positive impact out of it. And the second one is like what kind of actions that you're focused on. So there's this book that I'm reading right now. It's called End Procrastination. Really recommend you to read it. I'm recommending it to everyone that I'm meeting in meeting at this point. But in here, they were talking about the simple concept of ego 1.0, ego 2.0. Ego 1.0 is like, what are you doing for yourself? And the second one, ego 2.0, right? What are you doing for other people? Like whatever the actions or whatever the things that you are keep doing on, like they are, it comes under these two things. Like whether you're doing it for yourself, yeah, maybe like it's for your survival, your how to get food or clothing or shelter or like this supply basic needs, or what are things that you can do for other people that can create an impact. So these are the actions that actually gonna create this emotion of meaning, and these are things that are going to actually keep you moving, going to keep you motivated. So I think like this identifying, embedding this ego 2.0 and ego 1.0 into one thing is actually going to help you in terms of creating a better actions, as well as be consistent or consistent implement your actions with the community around you. Okay, so what you're going to do is that we're going to do a small self-evaluation. We're going to understand yourself in terms of these three areas that we talk about, which is intention, communication, and action. So what I want you to do is that I want you to take a pen and paper, and I want to build a draw a table like this. So we have 12 questions, and you can make a table like this, and then I'll show you the questions, and you can mark where you feel more comfortable with that statement. Let me know when you're done. You can put in the chat. You can put a reaction. Nice. I see Jonah is done. Okay. I hope you're done, and I'm going to take you through the questions. I'll show you the statement on the screen. Nice, thank you. Yeah, you can mark yourself where you feel most comfortable. First question: I'm clear about why I applied for MCVP. Sorry, why I applied for MCVP. Give me a second. This is my first question.
When you don't need an answer, there be days like this. When you don't need a chancer, there be days like this. When all the parts of the puzzle start to look like they fit, yeah. Oh, I must remember, there be days
Moving forward,
like this.
I have a clear idea about what is expected from my role.
And they're not playing tricks, yeah. When you don't have no freeloaders out to get their kicks in. When it's nobody's business the way that you want to live. I just have to remember, there be days like this. When no one steps on my dreams, there be days
I
like
understand
this.
who can
Do you
influence my thinking
understand what I
process and the
mean?
intentions. Who are the people
There
that
be
can
days
influence
like
me
this.
and my actions?
When you ring up the
And I have a clear
changes
idea about their
of how everything
intentions.
is. Oh, my mama told me there'll be days like this. Oh, my mama told me there'll be days like this. Oh, my mama told me there'll be
Next
days
question.
like this.
I like to gather information and facts and carefully evaluate them before making decisions.
chest. I hate how much I feel it. Yeah. Like how are you? It seems like things are going
I
really
listen more than I
well
talk.
for you. I wish that I could say the same about me too. I wish that I could say the same. And boy, you know I've tried to pray. I've bruised my knees. I've tried to bring you back to me. I've tried my best to find some
Next question.
kind of peace.
I speak
Don't you see?
specifically and personally instead of
Taking
generally and
me
abstractly.
back home where my heart used to be. And I tried my best to fill it up with.
Next question. I check my tone, especially in written communication, to make sure it corresponds with my message. I never avoid certain people or conversations. I tackle the hard conversation with ease. I am good at understanding what needs to be done, how doing it, and implementation. Should be the eighth question. The ninth one is I'm good at anticipating challenges and milestones in implementing projects. Should be the 11th question. Yeah, this should be the 11th question. Sorry, guys. I can understand people's strengths and weaknesses and delegate tasks accordingly. And the last question, last statement is going to be I want to see through the project until it ends completely. Okay. So, hope you guys are done. Are you guys were able to figure out where you stand in here? So the first, if you notice, the first four questions are about intention, and the second four questions are about communication, and the last four questions about the action. So these are the main things that we identify or we think that should be there as a skill that you should be developing in terms of the in terms of these three pillars. Like I think like these are things that you can focus on, the things that you can work on. So my question to you in the last part is that you can actually reflect through and see like for the statement where you're standing in, where you're standing in terms of communication, intention, communication, and action. Like, what are my weaknesses? What I'm good at? Am I good at? Do I have a good intention? Am I really good at having communicating with people? Am I really good at implementing things or turning things into action? What should I improve? What are the things that I should be focusing on? What are things that I should be um, focus on as a developing as a skill, and what are things that I can work on? And the third question is, how can I help others? So when I will send you guys into the breakout rooms, you'll be able to see. You don't have to share your results. You don't have to share what you got for each one, but maybe you can talk in generally regarding like what are you good at, what are the things that you need to improve on. Maybe like other people in the breakout room can mention like what are the things that you can help others with. Maybe if you're good at communication, can you help someone with the communication? What is your tip? What is the things that you practice so that you can be better at communication? So this is something that you can have conversation with as well. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to send you guys back into the breakout rooms. Maybe it will be different people this time, but it's okay. Introduce yourself, talk to them, and I'll try to give you more time to have this conversation. um Tivanga, can you send them back to the breakout rooms?
Yeah, sure.
Nice.